All right, Bulls Nation, we are now officially less than a week away from the NBA's in-season trade deadline. Will Arturas Karnisovas make some moves with particularly expiring contract players? As far as all of the trending names and teams leading up to this deadline, one player and one team that you hear together a lot, Big Dave, is Coby White in the Minnesota Timberwolves.
It's true.
They also reportedly have shown interest in both Ayo Dosunmu and Trey Jones, two other Bulls guards on team-friendly contracts, Ayo expiring. Trey still has a couple more years. But I think most Bulls fans right now are believing that Coby White, given his upcoming free agency and likely desired payday, is the most likely of that trio of Bulls guards to be traded.
I mean, it just feels like that, right? And I don't think this is a diss or anything to Coby White, just as a person or a player. Like, we love Alex Jacoby White. We've sat here many a day praising Alex Jacoby White, man. I can take it back even further to Bulls Outsiders and how we were just all about Alex Jacoby White. We were the first people in Chicago to interview Coby White.
Flex.
Like, yes, that is a flex. Like, so we have always been about him, but it just feels like you can read the writing that's on the wall.
Right.
He's going to want his check, and rightfully so. And I feel like the Bulls want to give that check to a player with more cachet probably behind his name. And I mean more all-star appearances, more, all-NBA kind of thing. So that's what I think they may be looking at, and maybe around the same kind of age bracket too.
Right.
But again, those things are very hard to find. We'll see how the Bulls come up with that. But it just feels like with Coby White, it's kind of run its course, sadly, because I love Coby White. I would love for him to stay. But he deserves to get his check. He deserves to get paid, and it just doesn't feel like it's going to come here in Chicago.
So I am no Willie Gottlieb, but I hopped on the old NBA trade machine earlier today.
You are Matt
to come up with a few different options. And let me preface by saying realistic options from my perspective.
Yeah.
Bulls fans might look at these and say, where are the draft picks?
Yeah, Matt.
Either multiple seconds or ideally, and I'm sure the Bulls would like to and are asking for, a first-round draft pick.
Of course they are.
In this upcoming draft or a future draft.
Okay.
I did not include draft picks in any of these hypothetical trades involving Coby White and the Minnesota Timberwolves.
And why?
Because Arturas Karnisovas does not value trade capital.
Bang.
So there are two pieces, one from Minnesota and one from Chicago, involved in all three of these hypotheticals, and essentially it is just three different versions of the same trade, but which flyer the Bulls are interested in taking.
Okay.
So, Sarah, if you want to throw them up one at a time or all together. So, okay, we got Coby White. We got the ageless wonder, who's maybe a bit more aged recently.
Definitely.
Production has fallen off a steep cliff for Minnesota this year.
Yeah.
Mike Conley. He is on an expiring deal. You see his $10 million there, gets you close to Coby White. Then you add in Terrence Shannon Jr., whose modest contract basically makes it an even money swap between the two teams. Terrence Shannon Jr. does have 2 years after this year remaining on his contract. This is a flyer on the Bulls thinking Terrence Shannon Jr., a young player with experience, could be some value add in the, we don't want to commit all this money and all these years to Coby. We got to get something out of the deal. This is better than nothing.
Yeah, and I think also, Matt, you cannot forego the fact that Terrence Shannon Jr. is from Chicago.
Yeah.
And it feels like AK definitely has value in that. How much value, we don't know, but you can look at the team and see that he has definitely value in you being from here and trying to grow that and establish that. Even guys who are in the G League and things like that, Javon Freeman Liberty and guys like that, shout out to him. I love Mike Conley. I've always loved Mike Conley. I always thought his body betrayed him early on in his career, or he would have had multiple All-Star games behind, his name. Like, he was just the point guard that you just really want, that does everything right for your team. But now, man, he's 38 years old.
Yep.
So we trying to figure out what he can do and what he can't do, knowing that he's had all those injuries and things like that, but there's still something left in his game. So I can see him being a bench guy for the Chicago Bulls, coming in, kind of helping that way. I can see that happening here. Terrence Shannon Jr., as you mentioned, I should say, still a young guy on a modest contract, 3 years left on that deal. Still trying to find his way, I think, in the NBA. And, of course, it's a little more difficult to find when you're the guy who's used to having the ball and you got, Anthony Edwards, ahead of you right there. So it's a little tough for him, I'm sure, tough sledding, finding his way. But I think he'll be okay as the seasons begin to start to go on for him. But I don't love it. I'll say that. but it is a logical trade. You know what I'm saying, that you're presenting right here for the Bulls to make. But I would put a pin in it and say, let me see what else is out there.
Put a pin in it. And Sarah, let's now move on to the next one. I believe the next one is my favorite of the trio, and it includes their most recent draft pick, Yohan Beringer, along with Mike Conley. Obviously, he is still on his rookie deal. He was the 17th overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft. Has not really gotten on the floor for this veteran-laden Minnesota team that is trying to get back to the Western Conference Finals and compete for a championship. He's only made 22 game appearances this season. He's in those 22 games played just about 7 minutes per game. So they don't really have space for him in their rotation right now. And they could see Coby White as a legitimate scoring punch off of their bench, maybe even a spot starter for them, depending on what they have available and on any given matchup evening. This one I think I would like the most as a Bulls fan because you have a longer runway of a young player with still, I think, a lot of upside and at a position I think of need for this Bulls team moving forward. 6'11", bringing you more size. I think AK is kind of prioritizing adding more size to this roster in the last year or so. I think this is the hardest one to pry away from Minnesota in a Coby White deal.
Without a doubt, and I'm with you, Matt, of the ones you just presented. That's the one that immediately makes my brain think about the possibilities because Beringer, 6'11", and the fact that he's 19 years old. So those two things I'm sure AK really likes. And immediately I'm thinking of him and Modest and Essengate together, along with a guy like Josh Giddey. And Ayo, if they're able to still keep him. Like, that transition would be fun. That is a fun transition off, and with Trey Jones. That's a fun transition offense right there where guys can still learn and grow and develop. Like, development will be key, obviously, for this situation. We'll see how Billy handles that. But first, let's remove all grizzled veterans from the Bulls. Let's get that out the way so he has no choice but to go ahead and play this young man. But I think that gives you the most upside. And, again, it's nothing against Terrence Shannon Jr. He's a bucket. That's what he does. He gets buckets. But as far as how the Bulls look like they're trying to, play and what team they're trying to be, and I'm just judging this off of their last draft pick in Essengate, it feels like Beringer would fit in just right with what they're trying to do.
And then the third and final version of this Coby White Minnesota trade involves another recent draft pick, 8th overall pick in the 2024 draft, Rob Dillingham, who, like Beringer, has struggled to get on the floor in his 34 games for Minnesota this season, averaging just shy of 10 minutes a game. Obviously, a player that came into that draft class with a lot of hype.
Yes, he did.
Big expectations. He was on the national scale and map playing for a blue chip program like Kentucky. And got a lot of attention. Still just 21 years of age. He just turned 21 earlier in January. So, again, maybe in need of a fresh start kind of player. And I have also heard in a few different reports, if Minnesota is going to try and add win-now talent between now and that deadline next Thursday, Dillingham is a piece they'd be willing to part with. So I don't love it as much as the upside I see in Yohan Beringer. But, it's nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's not. But again, looking at how the Bulls are developing one to play, if you're going to be a 6'4" kind of guard on this team, you're going to have to shoot the basketball. And if you look at his three-point shooting, it hasn't been great. It's been in the low 30s for that young man. So I would look at that aspect of it. Like you said, man, he came in with tremendous upside and flair behind his name when he was drafted. And I still think he can play. He absolutely can. But that shooting is going to be an issue for him. And it's going to be hard to get him on the floor if that's not going to be the case. Because Billy Donovan already letting you know. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can't shoot that rock, he's not really looking at you like that. So unless he can do it defensively, and he's really not terrible defensively as a player, but I'm trying to see how he gets on the floor in this Billy Donovan kind of style offense.
Shooting just 33% from the field in his games so far this season.
Not great.
That's just one team when it comes to Coby. There are others reportedly sniffing around and interested. Houston Rockets being one of them.
That's one.
Shout out to our guy, Ricky O'Donnell of SB Nation. He was on 670 earlier today talking about perhaps like a Coby White for Dorian Finney-Smith swap. Dorian Finney-Smith might be a contract that the Rockets are trying to get off of.
Yeah.
He's got several years remaining. I think 3 years remaining on his contract after this one.
Okay.
But the money lines up exactly with Coby's expiring deal. In that scenario, you could be perhaps seeing Houston include some kind of draft capital in that trade.
I can see that.
Which, again, I think most Bulls fans would find ideal. I think most Bulls fans between now and Thursday are thinking, can we get some draft picks?
Yes.
If AK decides to pivot off of this team and some of these expiring deals. I don't think that will be the priority.
I don't either.
From what we know about this person who's making these trades.
Yeah, we're just going by the past and what we've seen. Nothing has said, hey, I prioritize draft picks. It says, hey, I prioritize young talent, but not so much draft picks.
So we'll put a pin in it for now. We'll see what other reporting comes out in the coming days. I do expect that AK will make at least one move. And I think that Coby White remains the most likely candidate to be moved between now and next Thursday. If and when some breaking news happens, we'll be right here for it.